Welcome, everybody. This is Anka Johnson one more time. This is our third part deconstruction of your path to wellness, where we're going to focus on the target goal. And my name is Anka Johnson, if you haven't met me before, and I am the founder of Forward and Up, founder and owner of Forward and Up Wellness. And I do encourage you, if you haven't watched either the full path to wellness, or if you haven't watched the healing state and resilience deconstructions part 1 and 2, that you actually watch those first, because otherwise this is not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. So I wouldn't watch this one first. That is for darn sure. Okay, so as I mentioned before in the other two parts of the series, your path to wellness is something that I'm going to continue to share, and I will share body-specific paths. So your path to wellness: digestion, focus on brain health, focus on hormone health, those types of things, focus on thyroid, all of those types of things, just to better help all of us better understand what contributes to our wellness as we move forward in life. So this is our final one, and I've got here path number 5, tips and resources. And in all honesty, I have to say, my notes for the other two paths were multi-page notes. This is one page and one side, and that's it. Because our target goal is not something that we have to spend a whole lot of time with, because we've done all the work in our healing state and our rhythm of resilience. So as I've shared before, every time we're working on each one of these different things where we have our focus on that area, we're still working on all of the things all at once. So by the time we focus on the target goal, we're actually most of the way there already. And we don't need to worry about, we don't need to worry about focusing on it in the way that we did with the other two areas. Something that bears repeating is that all things matter, everything is connected, and we are all unique when we are working in our healing journey. So here's that beautiful slide again. Now we're way over on the upper right-hand corner. We are looking for long-term success. I've talked about the red, the pain sources, the things that challenge us, the things that usually give us the impetus to even start our wellness journey. And then the healing state in the yellow, how we move forward with healing. And then with our rhythm of resilience. So when we have that resilience, we are thinking in abundance. We are not thinking in lack. We don't have the challenges that we used to have, like bloating and gas and cravings and loss of energy and mental dullness and things like that. We've got the opposite. We've got all of these good things happening here in the green. And when that happens, we are reaching long-term success. Now, something that I want to share with you that makes a lot of sense, obviously, is that none of this is static. It's all dynamic. And so you're never going to sit in the blue box of long-term success. And you know that. It's just realize that there may be times where you might dip all the way back into a pain point, and then you might have to find a healing state, resilience, and move forward again. But you've got the tools. You've got the recycling down pat. You know what you're doing. And so moving from that pain point forward is much easier than it has been in the past. And remember this bad boy slide. So this is that wonderful slide from my compadre in FNLP, who created this. And it's just a beautiful depiction of what we want to do in making sure that we have our bad things out while we're putting our good things in, and while we're focusing on ongoing foundational maintenance. And remember, there are 3 things that are in here that help us to, or that remind us that there are those non-negotiables that we need to focus on, and that's sleep, digestion or pooping, and then and top to bottom, and then also our blood sugar and how that affects everything. So we also spoke very deeply into this slide the last time in resilience, and we talked about where things are growing in order for us to have root cause resolution. So I'm not going to go into the detail again, but remember, you want those roots to be shaking hands. And so how do we do that? We make sure that the terrain that our body is growing in always has mindfully, or always is mindfully thinking of the 3 roots, the focus on the non-negotiables, and the 3 tiers, and understanding that all of these things happen all in connection with one another. So the tools, you know them. They're right here. These are the tools that we've talked about. These are the things that you're going to be recycling. So we talked about the wheel, and we talked about how that helps us to understand not only where we're at with a certain piece of the wheel. So let's say, again, we focused on sleep in the beginning. Now maybe our sleep went from a 3, which was really pretty bad, to like a 7 on a scale of 10. And now your sleep is really good. How is that affecting your blood sugar? It's awesome. How is that affecting your digestion? It's fabulous. And so we can start to look at the wheel, and we can take those categories in that ongoing foundational maintenance on that other slide I had. We can make a wheel out of that. That's a great way to be able to track how you're doing. Recycling, stay the course. Talked about that. Small steps, we've talked about that. Slow is fast, many times. Understanding the change timeline. So understanding how you got to where you are, and then also understanding and making realistic goals from that timepiece. So if you have had ongoing digestive problems since you were a wee little one, it would be unrealistic for me to say that I'm only going to give myself a year to heal. That's not going to happen. But you can start to think about, well, I'm going to give myself a year to heal, and then I'm going to regroup and see what's going on, and then kind of plan from there. And that absolutely is realistic. Understanding you. So having a better understanding of your why. Remember that really deep why. Why are you doing this? Because that is an anchor that will help you through the tough times. And then understanding how you go about things. So what your tendency is. Are you an upholder? Are you a questioner? Are you a rebel? Are you an obliger? All of those things. If you haven't done that test yet, it's so fun. And that is in the previous resilience module. And then finally, gremlin taming, the art of simply noticing. And that's really what I wanted to focus on here in this last part that we're going to be together with. So with gremlin taming, there is something very interesting with this. So we've talked about it, but I haven't really gotten in depth with it. But I'm going to read this to you, and this is something I go through my clients with in much more depth. So your gremlin comes from Rick Carson, and that's a Carson. I apologize. I meant to put that down as a resource. But he has a book called Taming Your Gremlin, and I highly recommend it. It is a thin book. It looks like you could read it in about 20 minutes, but it gets you really thinking about things. So it took me about 6 months to read because I had to keep putting it down and contemplating what he had just written and how that connects with me. Very, very insightful. So your gremlin is the narrator in your head. He tells you who you are, and he defines and interprets your every experience. His goal is to squelch the natural, vibrant you from within. He is intent on making you miserable. Mine sits right here on my right shoulder. Your gremlin is not your negative thoughts. He is the source of your negative thoughts. He is not your less than positive past experiences, yet he uses them. He is not your fears, but he taunts you with them by creating the horror movie about your future that you sometimes watch. Ever have a what if thought? That's gremlin. Understand that you are not your gremlin, but rather his observer. So as soon as this awareness develops, you will begin to appreciate and enjoy your life more and more. The natural you, the observer, is the one inside your body in which you are now peering. The natural you is wise, pristinely pure, and sharp as a tack, and that the natural you holds the key to your happiness. Your gremlin wants you to feel suspicious and anxious and hopeless and ultimately empty. The more you become aware of your gremlin, the more you destroy his power over you. Awareness and choice are the primary elements of simply noticing, which renders the gremlin helpless. Simply noticing is probably one of the most incredible tools that I work with people with. That and small steps, ridiculously small, no-fail goals. But the simple and simply noticing cannot be overstated. Simply noticing involves only simply noticing. That is, paying attention, the same sort of attention you would pay to a good movie. Simply noticing requires effort. It does not require strain. There's a distinct difference between effort and strain. When it comes to simply noticing and ultimately taming your gremlin, the former applies and the latter impedes. So effort applies, strain impedes. Simply noticing is the disarming, potent first step in what's going on around you, but also your own thoughts, emotions, memories, and fantasies in the very moment they are occurring. Doing so kicks into play an age-old, infallible, and powerful process sometimes known as the Zen theory of change. And this is the Zen theory of change. I free myself, not by trying to be free, but by simply noticing how I am imprisoning myself in the very moment I am imprisoning myself. I'm going to repeat that. I free myself not by trying to be free, but by simply noticing how I am imprisoning myself in the very moment I am imprisoning myself. So the example that I give for this Zen theory of change is if somebody tied you to a chair and you started to struggle without thinking, you would tighten all those knots. And then that would probably lessen the chance of you being able to get yourself free. But if somebody tied you to a chair and now you just sat there and you felt each knot, each binding, and you realized, oh, my right hand is more free than my left hand. I wonder if I have a little wiggle room with my right hand to free my left hand. And lo and behold, you do. And because you didn't struggle, because you thought about things and you simply noticed that your right hand was more free than your left, you never tightened the bindings. So you never created brace against the thing that you were forced to deal with. And that, my friends, is the difference between effort and strain. And it is also the difference between simply noticing. So when we simply notice how we are sabotaging ourselves in our wellness, we will be able to make changes that are much more mindful, much more in our learning state, much more in a state of being unbound than we will when we are not in that state, when we are not simply noticing, when we're allowing our gremlin to run rampant and share all kinds of what if fearful thoughts in our head. And so that's what I want to leave you with. I want to leave you with that last tool, because that tool I feel is just a game changer. And the art of simply noticing, sometimes with certain clients, I will have them just do that for a week, which is simply noticing. And it is a profound change that happens with some people where they realize how they sabotage themselves by allowing that gremlin to run rampant, and then how much control they have in allowing that gremlin to be tamed and to be quieted. And then what life is like through that, after that. So that's what I want to leave you with. Your path is never by yourself. It is only by yourself if you choose to do it on your own, and you don't need to do it on your own. Remember that you've got all of these tools here and more that we've shared. And I want to invite you again to do a discovery session. If you haven't done one at this point, it's free. The only thing that you're going to take up is a little bit of time, about 45 minutes. 45 minutes for the discovery session and about 10 minutes for a pre-discovery session form that I have you fill out so that I have a better idea of what you are coming to the session with. And this can give you insight into what it is that might be keeping you in a place of stuck or a place of not being able to move forward. So in inviting you to do this discovery session, it would be the first step for you in your preparation to start to make some change in your wellness goals. I want to thank you again for being here, for watching this series. And if you have any questions, any suggestions, any wishes or wants, please reach out to me. I am always open, and I am always here willing to help with your path to wellness. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful day.